Welcome back. I changed my hair so you can distinguish the two videos in the same location with the same clothes. In the last video we were talking about um, how to propose a healing to someone else. You don't really know yet, but you feel the connection with. Now we will be talking about how can we do schedules to be in a rough way able to meet certain kind of program content, and also to have certain people available for us to meet who are indeed incorporating their business into this retreat and healing habitat. Well, what I'd like for you to do is take a legal size paper horizontally, and like you would do at school, create a schedule of 7 days. Just create a chart and number it: Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Now, I'd like for you to put the times onto the schedule that you typically are active at or during. So if you wake up at 6, typically make it 6, and if you go to bed at 11 p.m., make it 11 p.m. But if it's totally irregular, then make sure that you put 24 hours onto that schedule and allow for yourself to mark and note and document what you're actually doing at what time. You don't want to make it a rough schedule. You want to make it an exact schedule, no matter whether this is a planned schedule or whether this is what you in fact have implemented and you may have not planned. It just kind of turned out to be a good time to perform, for example, a healing for somebody else, or it just turned out to be riding the horse at a time that you didn't plan. So now I would like for you to go ahead and pick 3 half days, whether this is a morning or an afternoon or an evening period, that you do certain things the best at. Like, let's say you're best to be talked to with people from your same hierarchy that you typically have a weekly conversation with, or a daily conversation with. So if you're saying you want to meet that person on the phone or a Zoom call in the morning, then make sure to schedule that person into your morning period of time. You may also give it a try to schedule that person also during an evening hour, like let's say at 9 p.m. after dinner, because you may be considering that you will have a different kind of conversation with that person, that kind of conversation that you wouldn't schedule. It wouldn't be a scheduled topic that you were planning to address, but you may talk to that person on a different note, for example, at the evening hours, because you had the chance to kind of mellow out your mind after dinner. So you're in a different kind of thinking mode or more intuitive mode, and that may bring up a conversation that you may have not planned initially, but that it's just kind of arising. Also, you will be possibly more tempted to talk about something that is not necessarily a private topic about your love life or your family, but it may be something about your experience with just intuition arising, for example. And I highly encourage you to make slight changes with certain people you had a regular date with, but you just put them into a different time of your weekly schedule. Now, what about free time and how to schedule free time? If you do have a pet, and you do have a dog, you probably have specific times cleared in your schedule to be able to go on that walk with your dog. Now, if we're all together in the camp, at the ecosystem camp, we will have teams that will also take care of the dog of the walk with your dog. You also may be in charge of taking a dog walk with somebody else's dog. You also may have a scheduled date for feeding the fish in a pond. And you may also have a date with a walk for yourself and by yourself in the park in the middle of the day when you typically have your most busy appointments, like a 10 o'clock meetup. Your brain is framed to have highly charged conversations with high officials at 10 o'clock. Now switch your brain to be out in the woods at that exact time. And you suggest the same thing to your conversation partner. If you can still create a date for you, the two of you together at the same time at 10 o'clock, but just not be there for each other. Just allow for both of you to do something completely different, like taking a walk in the woods or in the park or in the garden, and maybe sit down on a bench or on a mat that you can put on the wet grass, and then practice one or two of the exercises that we studied together, that we learned together, that we practiced together, to get your whole well-being into a different mode. So it's a physical exercise that you would engage into at 10 o'clock outdoors. It will be also a mental exercise, and it would be spiritual exercise, and it will be most definitely a different sensorical exercise. And this is where I really would like to put the emphasis on. It's all about how you feel. Do you truly feel content in that time that you created for yourself at 10 o'clock, between 10 o'clock and 10:30, for example? So if you really consciously utilize that period of time, those 30 minutes, and remember, you don't have to jump into a cab or, make 3 calls to get the driver there in time and to take you there, and, all that logistics time. You don't have that. You just step outside of your apartment and you're walking for, let's say, 45 seconds, and you're in a green area with a comfortable seat where you can just be for those 30 minutes. And then if you still want to meet online via Zoom or on a telephone call with the person that you typically meet at that time, you still can do it, but you had that option to really get your sensorial system into a more natural mode, also away from magneto-electric smog. And then what you do is, if you have your conversation with that person at 10:30 till 11 o'clock, make a sketch and make a note of what you actually have discussed. and consciously compare it to what you know from your past experience of the past few years, what kind of result that you typically would expect. Because be sincere with yourself. How much of an answer did you assume to get? And how much of an answer did you not assume to get? Don't you a lot of times already know ahead of the conversation that you would get this kind of answer? Because you know that person so well, it's more a matter of, okay, we're going to exchange and make sure that we agree on this. But you already know the answer. You just have to make sure that you really agreed on something. Now, if you can save conversation time about something that you really already know about, what the result would be, you can spend the time on something else that intuitively your gut really wanted to know, that arose while you were sitting outside. And if your fellow partner that you are having the conversation with and you have the scheduled date with does the same thing and utilizes the same time for the same thing that you're doing outside, except that he's dealing with his own thoughts and his own intuition while you're dealing with your thoughts and your intuition, there's a chance that you really get to be talking about something that you really care about talking and that you really care about deciding on. Something that may have to do with progressive change leading to an Earth constitution that we dream of. Thank you.